Hello everyone, my name is Lydia and that is my dog Sophie. Today I'm going to be talking about the Akita as a breed because they are my favorite dog breed. I don't own one, but I have researched a lot about them in the past 5 or 6 or more years. And I think there's a lot that people don't know about the breed. Because there was a lot that I learned even years after being involved in these groups and talking to breeders. A lot that I learned well into what I would have thought was having a lot of knowledge. I really only was scratching the surface, you know. The Akita. There are 2 Akitas, as I'm sure you know at this point. The Japanese Akita Inu and the American Akita. They are pretty distinct in looks from each other. Once you start really recognizing the difference, it becomes pretty clear which one is which. I think once you start recognizing the difference, you'll see it very quickly. Typically, the American Akitas have larger bones, and they certainly have much rounder eyes. They're always the ones, if you see a dog with a dark muzzle, it's going to be an American. Not to say that all the American Akitas have a dark muzzle, but if they do, they are an American Akita. They are very distinct from each other in looks. And even in size, even seeing them comparing next to each other, the American Akita is much bulkier, much sturdier in build. I think a common misconception that people think is that the Akita as a whole have sort of a Rottweiler personality, right? Like it's sort of, I've heard this before from a guy who's pretty well known on YouTube, and it was just like, dude, you don't even know what you're talking about. Like well known in the dog space on YouTube. I was like, dude, what are you saying right now? He said that Akitas are pretty much like fluffy Rottweilers, and when I tell you my jaw was on the floor, I was like, dude, you don't even you couldn't be further off base. But I think that's what a lot of people think. I think they have this assumption about Akitas that it's like especially towards the Americans, because they kind of have a less dainty look than the Japanese typically. But I think people think that they are going to be like fluffy Rottweilers, or like akin to maybe a German Shepherd, right? And it's like, no, absolutely not. I've met plenty of Rotties in my day, plenty, and it's just like, and German Shepherds for that matter, I mean, dime a dozen sometimes where I live, but it's just kind of wild. But what I will say is that both Akitas, the American and the Japanese Akita, I would say, are more akin to a Chow Chow than they would ever be to a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd. You know, and I think a big difference between them that makes me say this is that the Akita has this what's in it for me independent mindset. Okay, that's the key I think difference here between these breeds, because the Akita has a total primitive mindset, a total primitive energy. And, you know, a Rottweiler in general and a German Shepherd in general is going to seek to please you to some degree. They want to be your companion, your buddy. They want to like roughhouse with you. They want to have that bond with you. And they are also extremely loyal. I'll say that, you know, Akitas, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, all very loyal dogs, but they all display it in such a vastly different way. So to compare them to them is just completely off base, in my opinion. The Akita is really, you know, obviously you don't want to mess with the Rottweiler, you don't want to mess with the German Shepherd, okay? But that's more just because they're so capable of, you know, doing harm. And they are so fiercely loyal, right? But in general, you really don't want to mess with an Akita. And I say this because they both, the Japanese and the American, they both exude dominance. They exude regal. I'm sure some people have had examples of their Akitas playing in the mud or being real rough, but that's, you know, stereotypically that's not that's not the case. That seems more like the exception to the rule. Typically, these dogs are known for being quite regal, and they demand respect. Everything about them demands respect, not just in personality, but even visually to other dogs. The Akita's visuals demand respect from yards away. They have pricked ears, right? Which signals to other dogs subconsciously that this dog is alert. The curled upturned tail, that is a dominance trait in dogs. You notice that when other dog breeds who naturally don't have that upturned tail are displaying dominance, their tails go up and their hairs stand up. And because Akitas have that natural upturned tail, to other dogs that is a dominant stance. And even the ways that Akitas present themselves, the way they walk, it is complete display of dominance. It's kind of wild, but fascinating, you know. And so, you know, your German Shepherd and your, you know, Rottweiler, they just don't have it to that degree. I think maybe body language would be a good indicator for, you know, that a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd is not a dog that you want to mess with. But for the Akita, they might not even be attempting to come across that way to other dogs as this dominant powerhouse. But in reality, dogs see an Akita from yards away and they know, I should not mess with this dog. I should not mess with him. Either that, or, you know, maybe your dog's a little overconfident and says, well, maybe I can take this dog, even when the Akita's like, hey, I didn't mean anything, you know, I didn't mean no harm. But that's just sort of what they look like on the outside. And internally, like in personality, these dogs also exude regality and confidence. I mean, no matter how much training you put into these dogs, right? I think a lot of people can put copious amounts of training into other powerful protection dogs, right? And if you put enough work into a lot of these other dog breeds, they can be fantastic family dogs with, you know, a large number of dog households, or like multi-family dog households. And they can be great in all sorts of public settings, you know. And They can even be good therapy dogs, a lot of them. A lot of these protection dogs by nature can be great therapy dogs, and they can be as sweet as can be. Total babies, right? And oftentimes they love to lap up the affection and all of that. But the Akita is not like that. By nature, they're not like that. I'm sure there are examples or exceptions to the rule where they are, but typically they're not, and they're not supposed to be. That's not breed standard. You know, you can't go into wanting an Akita with that in mind, that my dog is going to be a therapy dog. My dog is going to, you know, if I just put in enough training, I'll have an Akita, and like, I'll have a million different dogs, and they'll all be chill with each other. And like, all it really takes is training. The thing is like, when I first was starting to look into Akitas, I had that mindset heavily. I had that mindset ingrained in me that it's all in how you train them. That was so ingrained in me my whole life. Like, that's all in how you train them. If you train a dog right, if you do right by a dog, if you're a good owner, you have direction, you're a confident, clear owner with your rules, your dog should be good as gold, and they should be pretty much good in all situations and settings, right? Socialize your dog. They should be fantastic in all situations and settings, and that is just, I found out that is not the case with an Akita. And there's something so special about an Akita in that way, because I think there are a lot of other dog breeds that is true for. And I used to think that like genetics are, I mean, just a small role in what comprises the dog, right? But if you start digging into the Akita breed and you start getting involved in the groups and you start talking to the breeders, the healthy, good, wonderful breeders, the ones that look for the betterment of the breed in its future, and that's what they breed for, the ones that do extensive health testing. I mean, these breeders and these groups will tell you that genetics play a massive role with an Akita. Massive role. And that these dogs aren't dogs that you can just train to the best of your ability and expect them to just be chill with everybody. They don't want to be touched all the time by people. So they're not a great family dog by any means. They bond strongly with one person, typically. And they aren't a dog that really should be roughhoused with like other dogs. You know, some people do it. That is what it is. But these dogs demand respect, mutual respect. They do say too, when you look into training an Akita, that you should not use heavy punishment on them because they are extremely sensitive. They're a dog that would prefer a lifestyle where you are talking to them and communicating with them and training them as though you are an equal, which I think is a big culture shock to a lot of people, you know, especially the owners of Rottweilers and German Shepherds, or who are interested in those type of breeds. And a lot of these you know, dog trainers out here even say that Akitas are one of the hardest dog breeds to train. And I think that boils down to because they don't respond well to common training like you train these other protection work dog breeds, right? And I think that's another misconception too, is Akitas are not great for protection work. They protect naturally, but you shouldn't actually be training them for protection work because it is so much to put on your dog, so much to put on your Akita specifically, because these dogs take it to heart. They take it so seriously, the job that you put on them. They're an amazing breed. They're fantastic, but they're good for people who are willing to have mutual respect for them, and for maybe older kids who are willing to give them that mutual respect, and who are willing to realize that My dog might not want to play ball with me. My dog might not want to play tug of war with me. They might. There are Akitas who do like to play, but there are plenty of Akitas who don't. But these are intelligent dogs who oftentimes look at common play or common training as kind of stupid and beneath them, to be honest. And it's like, in order to own these dogs and see them thrive, they might do best in a situation or a household that doesn't train dogs in a conventional way. These are just some of the things that I've learned over the years. And it was blowing me away, truly, when I first was researching, because I had never heard of a dog that acted like this before. On the topic of genetics, a lot of people think that, okay, if I just train my dog and socialize my dog, later on in life they'll be so cool with other dogs. They'll have best friends for life, and even as they have an Akita, they might have an Akita 7, 8, 9 months old, year and a half, okay, who is romping around playing with the neighbor's dog, right? And they're best friends. They're going to be best friends forever. My dog, I don't have to worry about my Akita. I don't have to think about him ever showing signs of aggression or same-sex aggression, ever. He's chill. He loves dogs. Hit around the 2-year mark, and everything changes, and he no longer wants to play with other dogs. He's like, I'm done. You know? Some people out there, their Akita never reaches that point and they're besties with the neighbor's dog forever. But a lot of the times, for the majority of the time, it boils down to genetics, and these Akitas no longer are interested in playing with the neighbor's dog anymore. They're kind of like, no, I'm not going to put up with this crap anymore. Yeah, it was fun and games when I was, a teenager, but now that I'm an adult, I don't put up with that crap. And that's the thing too, is these dogs don't put up with any crap. You're out on a hike with these dogs, and this is the thing that really was fascinating to me. And the thing is I don't own an Akita, okay? I just am fascinated by this breed and by a lot of the primitive breeds. But this taught me about how to train my own dog, because the Akita needs a confident owner. They need a confident, clear owner. And they need that. I think most dogs need that. But what I mean by they need that is that you really can't get away with not being a confident owner, or you're less likely to be able to get away with being an owner that lacks confidence with these dogs. Because if you're not, they will take over in a situation, especially other dog encounters. They will take over and put the dog in their place. Because, again, they demand respect and they exude regality. I don't put up with that. They don't put up with other dogs being rude, other dogs trying to dominate them, other dogs trying to walk into the situation like I'm the boss. The Akita's gonna say, that's not how I play this game. That's not how I play this game, buddy. And unless you are a confident owner who understands that and who is willing to not try to force your dog out of that, because the thing is you never want to force a dog out of their nature, out of their genetics, putting them in a space where they aren't going to thrive, but showing them that you will handle the situation, that you will give them space so they don't have to interact with inappropriate behavior from other dogs. Showing your dog that your Akita, that they can trust you fully to take care of any situation that comes your way. And that really showed me a lot about how to train my own dog, because I do think that a lot of these things that we can learn about the Akita, we can implement into raising all other breeds, because these are things that we really should be doing with all other breeds to some capacity. But that I think because other breeds are so tolerant and so forgiving and so loving. Not that Akitas aren't forgiving and loving, but they just don't put up with as much crap as a lot of other dog breeds do. That I think we become sort of these relaxed owners, right? So learning all of that about the Akita really changed my relationship with my own dog. Like, oh man, I really should be a confident owner in general, because yeah, my dog is so docile, my dog is so sweet, but I gotta take control here, you know? Especially in situations where you encounter off-lead dogs, okay? Where I'm at, it's a bit of a problem, okay? People love having off-lead dogs on the trails. And most of the time, their off-lead dog does not understand body language or doesn't listen to the dog's body language. And so as an owner, it's like you've got the choice of just letting it happen, letting that dog cross your dog's boundaries, or stepping in and being the confident leader that your dog is wanting desperately for you to be, really. And it's really helped me be a confident owner with my Sophie. And it's built my relationship so much stronger with her than it was before. Especially in one area in particular, I used to pet and touch my dog all the time when I first got her. And I grew up with basset hounds, okay? We were in a basset hound family, and friends had basset hounds. We were in this little like basset community. And of course, basset hounds, they love to be touched all the time and petted all the time. They're like, me, 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 me. Like, anytime you look at them, they're like they're so excited to be cuddled and hugged and squeezed by you. And this was my first time having a more primitive dog breed. My dog is what you call a throwback Pomeranian. So she's a Pomeranian, but she's more primitive genes, and she's bigger than Pomeranians. More of a general Spitz, really. And she wasn't like that. When I first got her, she didn't want to be pet all the time. In fact, I would go up to her and pet her just instinctually, like, oh, this is my dog, this is what I do, and I want to pet her, so why wouldn't I? And she would get up and leave constantly, or show me signs that I don't really want this lady, like, what are you doing? And while researching the Akita, coming across a lot of owners who said that my dog is not the type of dog who cuddles, and like, I ask my dog for permission before touching them, which to a lot of trainers sounds like, a lot of trainers, I think, have issues training Akitas because they don't break out of their own training mindset. They're so into training the way that they want to train, rather than saying, well, what does this dog need to be? You know, what does this dog need to train it? What would this dog thrive on? What kind of environment would this dog thrive in? So a lot of trainers, I think, are like, well, I want to pet my dog, so why not? Or a lot of people out there are like, well, I want to pet my dog. How do I get my dog to want to be more affectionate with me, or to realize that I'm in control of when I pet my dog, how I pet my dog, you know, how do I get it to bend at my will? Which, with an Akita, you really can't go into the breed with that sort of a mindset. You really shouldn't go into the breed with that sort of bend at my will sort of a mindset. It's a mutual respect. And how do you build mutual respect? You build mutual respect by going, hey, I'm going to respect your bodily autonomy. Even though that sounds crazy in this society, in this day and age, to respect an animal's bodily autonomy. I mean, you can't go anywhere online in the dog space without seeing some sort of video where somebody is poking, prodding, pinching their dog's cheeks, doing ridiculous little games with their dogs to try to, you know, little like, how smart is my dog test, or booping their snoot, okay? All of that. And, you know, now that I have eyes to see it, I'm recognizing that these dogs are showing signs that they don't want it, even though they're not, you know, being outwardly snippy or anything like that. They love their owners, but they just don't know how to show that they don't want to be pet any further than what they are already doing. And they don't want to be touched in that way. But once you start to create a relationship with your dog, where you are asking them whether they want to be touched in that way, or whether they want to be touched at all and pet at all, I mean, for me, it made my relationship with her increase more than it ever had. And I started surpassing these milestones that I was trying to build with her, where, because I was really trying to get past some of these fears that she was having, because when I got her, she had resource guarding. She didn't like her paws or tail being touched at all. She had a lot of fear. And so as I was learning this and giving her the autonomy over her body, I started to realize that she started to let me do these things a little bit more. And when I did my training sessions with her, I was noticing that when I gave her space to exit whenever she wanted to and leave the situation, that she ended up actually staying within the training session a lot longer, because I had been giving her bodily autonomy, and she knew that I was not going to touch her or poke at her unnecessarily. I built up that bond with her, and that was fantastic. And that was all because I had started researching the Akita breed and realizing that a lot of the things that you learn about the Akita can be implemented with your other dog breeds. They're a fascinating breed to learn about. And I think the big key difference is that these dogs demand it. They demand respect, and if you do not give them that respect, things can go south real quick. And, you know, so if you're the type of person who is willing to build up that mutual respect and who actually thrives in a bond like that, the Akita might be for you, you know? But if you are the type of person who's like, I want this dog to be a protection dog, I want this dog to get along with everybody in my family, I want to, you know, have this dog be a family dog, I want to have a multi-dog household, and them to be cool and play with all the other dogs in the house. I want a rough house with my dog. I want my dog to look real tough, real cool. You know, I want it to ward off bad people, but also be a great family companion that I can take everywhere with me. And when I have my barbecue, it'll be great. He'll chill with everybody and love it because he knows the family, and you know. And it's like, the Akita might not be for you, but like, it just might not. These dogs make you think in a different sort of a way. They are notoriously hard to train. I say that not from my own experience, but because trainers say it all the time. And I think it's because they're training them with that sort of mindset. Like, I have this goal in mind. This is how I know how to accomplish that goal. So let me just go forward with that, instead of realizing that these dogs might need a different way, you know. And that's not to say that you can't, you know, wear these dogs down. I'm sure you can, you know, I know people do it. They instead of having that mutual respect, it's like, I'm alpha all the time. I'm alpha, you bend at my will. And when, yeah, of course, just like with any animal, any even human being, if you go into a relationship and that is your mindset and you trap this animal, and no matter what, they have to bend at your will, eventually, yeah, they'll bend at your will, but you're not going to have that bond. And you might find out that you have a dog that snaps at people, and you might find out that you have a big mess on your hands, you know? Because, I mean, the whole alpha theory, right, has been debunked. You know, I mean, some people still believe it, but it is a theory at the end of the day, and people lately have been discussing how it's not holding as much weight as we thought it did. And, you know, that was a big culture shock for me too, you know? Because I, my whole life, thought that, like, yeah, you gotta be the alpha, like, you gotta, you know, and that didn't work for her either, you know? And, you know, she's just a throwback Pomeranian. She's not, you know, she's not even like an Akita or a Chow Chow, right? But, you know, whereas the whole alpha theory, where we're all in a pack and there's ranks and all of this stuff, works for some dogs, and they will bend at your will eventually. Some dogs won't. Some dogs have a harder time. Some dogs, it might take a really long time for them to bend at your will, and then you got to ask at some point, like, should I even have my dog bend at my will? Really? I mean, should I even have them? What's the point in this? Or maybe we should have a different bond here. Maybe we should have a bond built on mutual respect, and I'm listening to you, and you listen to me, and we're both hearing each other out, you know? And I think a lot of that really helped me shift my training method with my dog. I mean, there's been so many times where where she would maybe do something that stepped out of our routine or what I taught her, and I would redirect her into doing what I knew was best or what I thought was best, completely disregarding her signs, her whatever it is, and then coming to find out that, oh, there was a very specific reason why she was doing what she was doing. She was warning me, or she was whatever, you know? And in those moments, it's like, we got to give our dogs credit and sometimes listen to them and kind of weigh every single situation. Like, is my dog making a really good point right now? Or is he actually trying to, you know, resist the rules that we have? I don't know. Again, the Akita is extremely intelligent, extremely. Both the American and the Japanese. And here, I'll just leave on this note, because people seem to think that they are like, oh, because they look so different, they must be completely different in personality. And trust me, I thought so too. And I still have this theory that maybe they are pretty different in personality, and just like, maybe there isn't enough information out there about it. I don't know. But it's wild, because over the years of researching both breeds, the American Akita and the Japanese Akita, people have said that they are virtually like the same in temperament, which is wild to me. I've only heard a few times that maybe the Japanese Akita is a little bit more primitive, but overall they're supposed to have roughly the same traits, that just differ in personality depending on the dog that you have. But yeah, that shocked me when I first was researching them too. But I hear all the time people saying like, oh, my American Akita does this and my Japanese Akita does this. And then you'll hear a different owner saying the exact opposite. And you're like, okay, what's the truth here? And when you talk to like breeders, especially breeders who've had both, you know, they say roughly they're supposed to have very similar traits. It's just when you get a specific dog, their personality might be a little bit different, but you know, it's a little interesting to see that because they look so vastly different and they have a few different dog breeds way back in their lineage. So it's like, how is that possible? But it's true, I guess. I would like to see more statistics on that, personally, because it's so hard to wrap my brain around that. But that's what they say. So yeah, you know, it's not to say that these dogs can't be great family dogs, but I wouldn't expect them to be family dogs in the sense that that we all expect, I guess, or in the way that we all expect them to be, you know? And I certainly wouldn't expect them to get along with every single dog that they meet, or to even want to interact with other dogs. And that is breed standard, and when you want an Akita, you should expect that, you know, and embrace that even. And, you know, they might be aloof even to you at times, but they're also extremely, extremely loyal. And they bond usually with one person the most. You know, we all know the story of Hachiko. These dogs are incredible, but they think differently than a lot of other dog breeds that we know about. They just have a different mind, you know? A different sort of a mind. A more primitive sort of a mind. Anyway, these are just some of the things that I learned about the breed over the past several years. They've just been a very interesting dog breed to research, so those are just some of my thoughts.